Air Jordan 13 playoffs. Alright, so what's up YouTube? It's another quick pickup video for you today, and we have the Air Jordan 13 in the playoff colorway. First debuted by Michael in the 1998 All-Star game, but then worn for home games throughout the 98 playoffs all the way through to the title. Even though he didn't wear these in games 3 and 4 back home in Chicago against Utah, he had already switched to the 14s. But he did switch back to these for game 5, but they lost game 5. So I'm going to try to keep this short. The Jordan 13s are my favorite Jordan, and then this is by far my favorite colorway. They have been since I got them back in 1998. I got them on May 5th. It was a Tuesday. I still remember it. I actually pulled out my pair. So this is my pair from 1998. And as you can see, these things are absolutely destroyed. You know how, like, back in the 90s, we especially when you're kids, like we wore our shoes. So I did everything in these shoes. Played basketball outside. We played football, tag, whatever we were doing outside, you know. So as you can see, I absolutely destroyed the outsoles, holes in the toes. You can see the articulated zoom. But I mean, this is the nostalgia factor that kicks in with things like this when you have that type of memory built in. And I still have the pair from 25 years ago almost. And I remember I remember the first time I saw these, it was at a Athletic Attic, which eventually got bought out by Athlete's Foot. And I'd already was monitoring the 13s to see which color I wanted. And I saw these on the shelf and I was like, yep. That's the one. That's the one. So I started working on Mom Dukes right there. So eventually, when it came time for me to try to go get them, they didn't have my size anymore. So I ended up having to get them from East Bay. And then this very pair arrived on May 5th, 1998. I remember when I took them out of the box, it was just, they were so clean, they were so perfect. I almost didn't want to wear them. But that wasn't even a thing. Like a thing to think of, at least not for me back then, to buy some shoes and not wear them. You only have one pair and you're not going to wear them. But they were so perfect, they were so fresh. And instantaneously, these were my favorite Jordans. And up till now, 25 years later, no shoe has been able to overtake that. So this is it for me. And obviously I wore the hell out of these. And then I got a couple more OG pairs in like the mid-late 2000s. So this is another OG pair I have. I got these probably around 07, 08-ish, somewhere around there. So it hasn't been that long since I've worn these. I did also get the 2011 pair, but that pair had a few differences, and it obviously was nowhere near what these were. And then at the time, I was actually boycotting Jordan Brand just because of you know, I wasn't satisfied with the quality and so on and so forth. So I hadn't bought any Jordans for 2 years, full years, 2008 or 2009, 2010. And then these dropped, and then my second favorite Jordan 3s, favorite colorway, white and cement 3s, also dropped. Those two shoes dropped at the beginning of 2011, and that's what it took for me to break my boycott. I was like, okay, well, you know, I hadn't had these since the originals, and then I hadn't had white cement 3s since the 03, so I had to buy them. So I was like, okay, I'll break my boycott. But even then, I only got one pair each, when before I was buying multiples. So, but I don't know where I put my 2011 pair, so I didn't feel like looking for them to dig them out for this, and they're not really worth it. Obviously they're not what the originals are, and these aren't that much better than them for me to like try to find them. So no 2011s in this comparison. But then once again, this is just another OG pair I had gotten later. So I had worn the shoe since these, but not since I stopped wearing these, which is probably in the early 2010s. Like last time I wore these is probably, you know, 2011, 2012, something like that. So it's been a long time since I've worn my favorite Jordan. And so I'm very happy that they finally came back for the anniversary. And when I first heard that they were coming back, I was excited, but the way 13s have been coming, I wasn't super excited. Mainly, the main thing with the new 13s was the toe. They were using really crappy, I can't even call it leather. It was like basically a synthetic that they were using on the toe. I'm happy to report that, you know, for whatever reason, they decided to use a better basically the same leather that's on the side panels they use on the toe. So, I mean, it's nice and soft. You can see when you press it, it creases and everything. You get like the wrinkles around it. So they actually used, you know, real leather on the toe. So that was nice to see. The only other thing that they still didn't get right, like on the 2011s on the bottom, basically it was identical to this, except the lines in between were red. So that was one thing that they didn't get right on the 2011 compared to the original. And then on these, because the original pair, we'll just grab it real quick. The original pair, as you can see, it does have the gray lines. So they did fix that. But then the hologram that's on the bottom, they left it this green antifreeze color when it's supposed to be more of a yellow. I know these are an old pair, but trust me, this was yellow originally, and it's still yellow. It didn't just change. So that's the only thing that they didn't get right on these. But other than that, I mean, yes, I mean, I want to nitpick because these are my favorite Jordans, so I want to go through and yeah, the shape is off. Like the overall height of the shoe is off. There's a lot of things that are off, like shape-wise. And I kind of want to go there just because this specific Jordan is my favorite shoe, so I'm going to hold it to the highest standard. But I don't feel like doing all that. So, in terms of what we've been getting for 13s, these are a little step above. There's still an issue with the toe shape, not necessarily at the top here, but really with it curling up, like here. Let me do this. Like you see, when I put the shoe on the, just in the camera. So when the shoes are just sitting, like if you notice, you can run your finger completely under the toes. Like, and it's not just like right here, it's well under the toe that you can completely run your fingers. And these are DS, so I haven't like worn them or anything. If I just randomly, like this pair is worn, and then it's hella creased, and I can still I can't quite get them under the toes quite as much. And this pair is worn, and it's all creased up and curled up at the toe. So that's the one thing, for whatever reason, like the way they mold the shoe, because it's not really at the top of the toe here. The top of the toe here is fine. It's like the way they mold the shoe from the bottom. It's like they're using the same mold that they use for a lot of running shoes. Like if you see like Epic Reacts and Pegasus, all those shoes, this goes straight, the toe goes straight into the air, obviously for like a heel toe transition. But I don't know if they're using the same mold or whatever, but it's literally the outsole is just curling up from the bottom, and then they're fixing up the toe shape at the top. So it's still kind of weird with the toe. But other than that, like that'd be the biggest complaint I have with these. The materials are nice for 2023. They're not close to what the originals are. Not even close. Like these, I mean, Like if you see, it has that tumble pattern in there, but it's like that fakeish pattern. Even though these are legitimately tumbled, but it's like the quality of the leather just gives it an over tumbled look, if that makes sense. And then these kind of feel like kind of like dry, and it just feels cheap relative to something like this, relative to these. Like if you show this is like a nice worn wallet. It's like a well-worn wallet, and if you can see, like the leather here is tumbled, but it's not like overly, just because the leather's softer, so it's not overly pebbled like this. You know, it took the tumbling better just because it was a higher quality of leather. A lot of people complain about the creasing on the 13s. Like as you can see, these are pretty creased up, and like I didn't play in these. I don't know if, like, I wasn't the original owner of these. I copped these on like eBay or something, so I don't know if these had been played in, obviously, but this is just how 13s crease when you warm hard. So I know a lot of people used to complain about that. Maybe that's why they, you know, don't use such a soft leather anymore, but I would prefer these, or prefer something at this cut. But once again, I don't want to ramble on, because I could talk about these shoes literally all day. I mean, like, once again, it's my single favorite Jordan. These probably have had a lot of influence as to why, like, this color combination, mostly black with like white bottoms and trims of red, is like my favorite color combination on a Jordan as well. So I don't want to ramble on, but man, you know, it's not often that your single favorite Jordan comes out. So like, I'm sure all of you watching this video, you have that single shoe, and it's, at least for me, it's not often, because this is only the second retro. So you get the 98 pairs, the 2011, and then 2023. So I don't know what took them so long, but I'm kind of glad that, you know, these didn't come out sooner. So, you know, they can make those steady improvements that they make, you know, year after year in the remastered program, quote unquote, if that's still a thing. But I'm gonna wear the shit out of these. I mean, it's been like, I wore this pair, and I had another OG pair around the same time. Like I wore them a decent amount, but not like how I wore these. Like I used to wear these sometimes, probably at least 4 or 5 times a week. Just, you know, whether it was wearing them to school when they were still fresh, or like playing outside in them when they had gotten beat like this. So I haven't even put these on yet. And I know it's gonna be like such a zoom of nostalgia when I put these on. Like I remember with the OG pairs, like whenever I was walking on like a dark floor and you have that toe down look, you could look down and I would see just the darkness, and then you could catch the trim of the white pads going around. I would always be looking down at my feet when I was wearing these. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing that again. For the most part, these were pretty plentiful. I know they got restocked a couple times on Dick's, on Hibbett, I think one other spot, and they were like there for a while. So it looks like most people who wanted these were able to eat. I'm happy for that. I always love to see that. And I ate myself as well. Like this is one pair. I have another pair here. I'm still waiting on another pair to show up from Nike.com. So I definitely went in on these. I won't need any more pairs for years, but oh man, it's nice to have these again. It's nice to, you know, have a pair that I'm going to be able to fully wear again. I kind of stopped wearing this pair just because they're not in the best condition. Like there's some yellowing. The hologram started cracking on me and stuff. So yeah, man, I don't want to ramble on, so I'm just going to cut the video there. I know most of you that are OG heads, especially if you're on my channel, I'm sure you picked them up, so I'm not even going to ask you, you know, what you think about these or if you grabbed them. But if you like this type of content, just do it like good YouTube stuff for me. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.